Today's episode is brought to you by Microsoft Dragon Copilot, your AI assistant for clinical workflow, which helps to ease administrative burdens, automatically document care, streamline workflow, and focus more on the patient-clinician experience. To learn about how Dragon Copilot can transform the way you work, visit aka.ms/knock-knock-hi. That's aka.ms/knock-knock-hi.
Hey, Will,
Hey, what's up?
I've been thinking, the U.S. healthcare system, it needs some improvement.
Yeah, there's room for improvement. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's a confusing, scary place for everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Physicians, families, patients, everybody.
Everybody. And I've experienced it from both sides, right? I'm a physician. I've also been a patient. So I wanted to use my platform to give people practical education, really the only way that I know how, by making jokes. So Dr. Glockenflecken's really fun and super uplifting guide to American healthcare is out. And it's a free resource that includes all my videos from the 30 Days of Healthcare series, alongside deeper explanations, also reliable facts, emphasis on reliable.
Yes.
All right. Figures, numbers, insights into how each of us can fight for a more humane, better healthcare system. Also, it has jokes.
Did you mention the jokes?
I did jokes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely jokes.
Well, this guide is great for anyone looking to learn more about U.S. healthcare, but especially if you are experiencing it from the clinician side for the first time.
That's right.
We really hope you'll check it out.
Get the free guide sent straight to your inbox by signing up for our mailing list, glockenflecken.com/healthcare. Enjoy.
Knock, knock. Hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knock Knock Hi. I am your host, Dr. Glockenflecken, also known as Will Flannery.
And I am your other host, Lady Glockenflecken, also known as Kristen Flannery.
The rare two-host podcast.
No one has ever done it before.
All right. We've got an interview today.
Yes.
We've been doing a lot of Glock talks lately, but I figured that every now and then we should probably talk to somebody else.
Fine.
Is that okay with you?
It's fine.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine if you don't want to just talk to me.
I always get really excited when we're talking to residents, med students,
Yeah.
People early in their career, because they just have an interesting perspective,
They do.
and they're excited.
Yes.
The light is still present in their eyes. It's fantastic.
They have not been completely beaten down
So
yet.
we are talking to a content creator, Dr. Kumail Hussain.
That's
So
right.
on his social media platforms, on pretty much all of them, you can just search the Kumail Hussain, some form of the Kumail Hussain on all his platforms. And he's been making content since med school, and we're having him on because he got in trouble from his med school for making content. And this is a pertinent topic these days as content creation becomes more and more mainstream and accepted, and social media use. Everyone's getting their information on social media. Probably, if you just poll any med school class, how many of you have considered yourself influencers or content creators? Someone's going to raise their hand, right? It's that common. But they're at the beginning of the TikTok craze, 2020 to 2022. Everybody was blowing up. We talked about this with Kumail, and the institutions just took a long time for them to catch up. They're still catching up.
Yeah, I was going to say not
They're
all
still
of them
catching
have.
up. And so the idea of all these people in healthcare getting social media followings and posting stuff was scary to these hospitals. And so you would hear about people getting in trouble. You still do. And so we go into all of this and professionalism, and he tells his story of what happened to him, and which had major ramifications for matching, for his future, and most of it undeserved.
Yeah. It sounds like,
99% of it
Yeah.
undeserved. And so it's just fascinating, and something that I think a lot of people can probably relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Dr. Kumail Hussain. Hey, Kristen.
Yeah.
I know that you love when I talk about the cute little mites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I thought we could take a break from that. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Yeah, because I'd like to focus on the eyelid symptoms and disease that an overgrowth of Demodex causes.
Okay, I like that idea. No might talk.
So, Demodex blepharitis, it often gets misdiagnosed or just missed entirely because a lot of symptoms overlap with other eye conditions.
Okay, so what are the top symptoms that people should look out for?
Usually itching along the eyelid margins, swelling, irritation, redness.
That sounds like it could be allergies or lots of other things
It
too.
could be a lot of things, but exactly. And the key is if your doctor spots crusties
Mm.
on the margin of the eyelid.
Technical term.
Well, we call them collarettes, but crusties is a good term. That tells you it's Demodex blepharitis right there.
Well, I really like that there's a clear sign to know for sure.
And once you're diagnosed, there's a prescription eye drop treatment available for this disease.
Ooh, that is good to know.
To learn about the common symptoms of Demodex blepharitis and more, visit miteslovelids.com. Again, that's miteslovelids.com to learn more. This ad is brought to you by Tarsus Pharmaceuticals. All right, we are joined today by Kumail Hussain. Dr. Hussain, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you all doing?
Pretty good. PGY2, family medicine. That means so you finished your intern year. Was that like just a weight off your shoulders, or is it just like a different weight was placed on your shoulders as PG? I remember my PGY2 year, my second year of residency, being just a little bit more chill than the first year, for sure.
Chill in terms of hours for sure, but the responsibility does go up. I mean, the first year, our program was very heavy on inpatient for my program. I mean, yeah, it was just very long hours, but now less hours, but way more responsibility.
Yeah. Can I, before we kind of dive into a bunch of stuff, can I tell you about a time that I embarrassed myself in front of a bunch of residents?
Of course, I love these stories.
Please do.
Yeah. So I went to Stanford to give like internal medicine grand rounds, and they were taking me on a tour around, and all the internal medicine residents had gathered. They had shirked their responsibilities for like a couple hours that day. I'm sure the patients were fine, but anyway, and I was just kind of making small talk with him, and then we got to talking about. I always like to ask, like, did your professors use my videos like in their to try to like teach you stuff, or like just to bring some levity? And then kept talking about different things, and then at one point I said we were gotten on the topic of like test prep materials. I don't even remember why. But I said, this is what I said. I said, what is this thing you guys are using? Anki?
Anki, Anki, whatever.
And they all laughed at me. They all laughed at me because like, oh, Anki? You mean Anki? You old man, Glockenflecken? I felt pretty embarrassed.
I mean,
I didn't get the name of the flashcards. That's what they are, right? Flashcards?
Exactly. Yeah, they're they're flashcards. There's like some computer bit, like some learning components, or where like spaced repetition plays a role, so you don't forget things and you repeat the things that you do like worse on while you're doing your flashcards.
Okay, because it's just like that's not. It doesn't seem like a very innovative, like new way to learn medicine. It's
well, but it
flashcards.
sounds like but he's saying there's a computer component that uses principles of learning psychology to help you remember it better.
Okay. All right. So
Yes.
you guys, you're off of first aid now, right? That's no longer a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just finished up step 3 on Friday.
Oh,
And
nice! Congrats.
Oh man.
Thank you. So I mean, and at that point, there's no time to go through every single UWorld question, the books. Like I've just focused on questions, and at this point, that's all you really need. But like before, my first couple years in med school, I don't know when you guys were in school, we were just overloaded with resources. But now I stick to a couple of things now.
Yeah, I remember when I was going through my USMLE testing, it was first aid, it was UWorld questions. Those are like the two things like I used the most by far. But now there's a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's my videos.
There's a lot
obviously.
more to learn and a lot more resources to learn them, I think.
What percentage of toward being a doctor do you think you could accomplish just by watching my TikToks?
on your TikToks.
Yeah.
I mean, we learn the things from your TikToks and videos, the things we don't learn in med school, to be honest, right?
Exactly.
It's a well needed supplemental curriculum until, like, I mean, as med students, we put our head down. We don't think about the real world implications of medicine, what we learn. But I mean, yeah, all your guys' videos have helped, but just like shed some light on things that we never really knew about.
The hidden curriculum, right?
Yeah.
The things
Yeah.
that you don't get taught. Let me ask you this: were any of my videos ever used as like, hey, this is what you don't do on social media?
No, I mean, that's a big topic, like the thing where you the way your videos come across. I mean, it could be controversial to some people, right? But it also
Oh
sheds
yeah.
light on things, right? But I've always me personally, I was like, well, he's not doing anything inherently wrong. He's shedding light on the situation, right? But then
Yeah.
there will be. I've never experienced a professor in my time where they like looked at your. I mean, all my attendings in my program right now love you. Actually, one of them went to your show. Your
Oh,
guys' show, I think you
Oh,
had
is
in
that right?
Chicago,
Yeah.
not
yeah.
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 We came
So
to Chicago. Yeah, it was
yeah,
great.
so there's like it's really dependent on attending and what year they were born and entered medicine.
Yeah.
It does. It's like a generational thing for sure. And maybe there's something about the amount of time I've been doing it, because when I first started as Glockenflecken, I was pissing off a lot of
Yeah.
people. There are a lot of people.
Wow.
It's like the idea of a doctor telling jokes in such a public forum. I mean, this is 2016, so it wasn't
Yeah.
social media wasn't brand new, but we didn't
But
have TikTok. We didn't have
medical
like
content was pretty
yeah.
new.
So it was right. The idea of there were no even the term content creator was like not even a thing
Yeah.
at that point, right? And so the idea of physicians or pre-meds or med students being so public on social media was pretty new. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I even remember getting some responses from people like, "Oh, I'm going to use this video in my medical ethics class because this is not,
Oh,
okay."
like as an example of what
Yeah,
not to do?
yeah,
Just the
yeah.
fact that
Wow.
you were on social media or something about the video in particular?
It was something. It was a topic in the video.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah.
was, and maybe I've talked about this on the podcast before. It was a video where, you get that call as a physician, and the other person says, "Hey, you remember that patient you saw last night?"
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Then
like you're
your heart drops.
right, you're immediately think. I'm sure you have certainly felt this, like probably within the past few years, because this is like a classic resident thing, right? New attending thing, where it's like, oh, I must have done something horrible.
Yeah.
Immediately, that's the single neuron arc, right? To that doomsday scenario. And
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
I made a video just like making fun of that idea, and then somebody thought it needed to be the source of an ethics lesson,
Why?
Interesting.
because it's not something that you talk about. Yeah, you don't want to. What your first thought as a physician is, oh no, I screwed up.
Oh, so like it undermines trust
Yeah,
in your
yeah, yeah,
abilities.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
so with that in mind, thinking about ethics, and tell us your story, Kumail, because you let us know that you've gotten yourself into a little bit of hot water before on
Hmm.
social media, and that's again, this is a really, I think, important topic. I've probably every single mistake I've made on social media, I probably talked about on this podcast at one time or another, because everything I tell people not to do, I've done, right? And so if we can help people, you know, avoid those mistakes, I think it's great. So yeah, let us. Why don't you? I'll let you just take it away.
I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing. When you first started, I had no idea that. I never really thought your videos were ever controversial. So when you first started posting, yeah, 2016, yeah, I mean before I feel like TikTok came up, like became alive in the pandemic, and that's when I started
Hmm.
posting.
Yeah.
But even before those times, I mean, let's
Oh,
put it this
yeah.
way: in my
2016, I
situation,
was just on Twitter, and so it was just like
yeah,
sentences, and you could just easily have things taken out of context. Yeah.
yeah, and then the virality component of, I mean, Twitter, for example, I don't know how you kind of were with your audience then, but in TikTok, you could be a nobody, and
Hmm.
I was a nobody, and I posted, and I gained a following, and it was awesome, right? I mean, it was a stark contrast to what my school at that time was kind of saying. I mean, I started my surgery rotation, and this is the rotation we'll talk about where like it posed the most issues and why I probably will never be a surgeon. But the first thing they said was social media, delete it. It's only
Delete
gonna hurt
it.
you. Yep,
Delete
it's
it.
all
Like your
only gonna
own
hurt you.
private personal pages.
Yeah.
Delete.
Deleted.
What year was this, by the way?
This would be second year. Oh, sorry,
So
third year, because I came back and it was third year. Started
third
third
year of
year.
med school. So we're talking like
So
3 years ago.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this was yeah. So like
2022
2022 range.
ish.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So at that point, people were still saying just get rid of it.
What kind
Don't do
of
it.
doomsday scenarios, I guess, are they imagining to tell you to delete your own private social media?
During
I mean,
orientation.
yeah, is this they just had they're thinking of the worst case examples, right? They're thinking of like,
Mhm.
oh, you're posted in the hospital or the patient's information and that leaks and now like you're not in your reputation you're a doctor 24/7. That was instilled into my mind, right? But when I started posting and then I heard that speech, I'm like, well, I am a physician, but that's not my entire personality. But
Right.
these older school doctors who believe that like everything you do online, outside of the classroom, outside of the hospital, all of it reflects on you as a physician. I think that was the main reason why they said, just get rid of it. It's not worth it. And a lot of people believed it. A lot of people were just like, I will never touch it.
As opposed to giving you like tools and information
Right.
to
Guidance.
guidance on just how to do it safely. But anyway, that's that's separate. But it just gives you an idea of like where the mindset is at, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that set the tone. I was already so when I started my third year, I just finished up a leave of absence. Everyone had a different like way of approaching the pandemic. For us, all my rotations, all my classes were just put on hold and like remote classes that were known to be very difficult and like for accounted for a grade were all pass fail. Everyone got shut in their homes. And I'm a social person and we're doctors are inherently social people. So that just like threw me for a loop. And then we're seeing stuff online about the virus itself. And like despite political opinions, I was just like trying to absorb everything at once. I'm like, well, is this the field I'm going into? What does this all mean? What specialty do I want to do as well? So I took a year to just do some soul searching, and I did a lot of posting. I enjoyed posting at that time. Around second year, I gained a little bit of traction. My first video was it was one of those like very old school trends at TikTok. And like I always just did trends and just made millions of views just talking about my story, getting into medicine. It resonated with people. And I had a blast doing that. And I just did that for my year off. And then when I started my third year, I was trying to maintain it. And this is where we'll kind of see how what I thought was okay and not a threat to my reputation as a physician conflicted with the opinions of my faculty and the admin.
Mhm.
Um, but that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, and there's a very interesting time on social media because first of all, everybody for like a year and a half, like it was well, first the lockdown really kicked it off because everyone was home
Mhm.
and everybody was on social media. So knowing what it was like, even just on Twitter, like pre-pandemic, 2017, 2018, 2019, pandemic, lockdown, everything was going viral. Like it was nuts, and that was when I started. Like many of us started, right
Yeah.
in 2020 on TikTok. You could go viral so easily. So you have all these people, especially in healthcare, because obviously that was like the news of the day was what was going on in healthcare with this pandemic. Um, you saw people getting 50,000, 100,000 followers over the course of like a week. The platforms were just blowing up because TikTok itself started blowing up.
Mhm.
This is a
Yeah.
brand new format
Yep.
for content, and also everyone was on social media, so everyone was looking for information. So, like,
Yeah.
the confluence of all
Well,
these
and the TikTok
things.
algorithm,
Right, the tech
like specifically, that's the
right,
thing that made everybody go viral. Their algorithm was different than the other platforms' algorithms in such a way that, like you said, you could be a nobody and go viral really, really easily.
yeah, it was just a wild time on social media. That's why so many people just have these were able to generate these massive followings. So you finished your leave of absence and then came back, started doing rotations, right? Was that your entry? Did you know what you wanted to be at that point?
I went back and forth with so many different things. I wanted to be an ortho bro, right? And lift
Mm.
kettlebells for a living. And then I had a little bit of tough with derm, PMR,
Yeah.
psychiatry. And I mean, everything, it just sounds so good on paper until you actually do the rotations. You're like, well, will this be my life? And like, am I just gonna do
Mhm.
this one thing and specialize?
Everything
And
but
then,
ophthalmology, it sounds like. That's fine.
well,
Doesn't matter. No big deal.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, in the ophthalmology, ortho, those top tier specialties are they're difficult to get into, right?
They are. Yeah.
I realized that like I was starting to like lose energy and focus on trying to go into something more competitive. To be honest, I mean, I had
Mm.
these other desires and passions, and I was like, I can't do it all, right? Some people can, but I had to kind of choose and figure out a specialty that met my lifestyle and my needs. But yeah, and then I did not get into opto, unfortunately.
So you were on rotations and making content, right?
Yeah, and this is the part where I want to get your like thoughts on this, right? There's probably a better way I could have handled everything in hindsight. Um, So yeah, we're continuing the posting on while I was in rotations. Now, in my mind, I was always posting and creating content. Again, it was all just like the trends that were going on TikTok. I never showed patient information, never disclosed where I worked and stuff like that, right? But sometimes I would record content that either was in a restroom of a hospital, that was in the parking lot, or I was walking around, right? Never in public facing areas where other people were in there and you could see logos and stuff like that. I tried my very best to just create that
Yeah.
sense of privacy and like out of respect. Um, but even that created a lot of
Hmm.
issues. And we could talk about that, which
Let's
and it
take
was
a let's take a quick break, and then we're gonna dive into the problems that presented. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right, we're back with Dr. Kumail Hussain. And so, what we were just about to get into the problems that posting as a third year med student in like kind of hospital adjacent areas, you know, parking lots, things like that. What kind of content were you making? First of all, was this just like kind of diary, like just talking about your
Dancing.
day,
hmm
jumping on
yeah.
trends? You said, yeah. So it was like kind of day in the life type of stuff.
hmm Yeah, I think exactly. Like I was just being my authentic self, right? I would when
Yeah,
I what was I doing as a med student studying? What was I trying to do? Being more
right.
productive, right? What was I trying to do? I was going to the hospital, so I couldn't show most of my job. We're like the one field where like everyone else on social media is showing every step of their jobs nowadays, right?
Yeah.
We're like the
Sure.
one thing where like, all right, camera's got to go off. I got to go do the job, and I got to come back and say I did it. So like I was
Right.
just showcasing what a day in a life looked like, what being a med student looked like, and being a content creator at the same time. I used trends as inspiration. I did some videos where I talked to the screen, talking about my story and stuff. Very, from what I believe was very innocent stuff, right? That was like the bulk of my content.
All right. And then what happened?
So finished up surgery rotation, and it was very interesting because I was still posting, and there was actually like some conversations that people had seen my videos on the rotation, and
Hmm.
there was no issue. I mean, there was a sit down talk with one of the attendings at the end saying that like just a piece of advice. This social media thing, I was like, I don't understand it, but like just be careful with it. I think it's best to avoid it kind of thing. And I took it very positive. Like I understand, and I believe social media is like here to stay. Um, I'm like, I mean, I can always be better at approaching it. And I was actually genuinely looking for feedback, like, well, what exactly
Yeah.
should I like kind of be thinking about when I am posting? Because I would like to keep on posting. I would believe that it's a freedom that we are allowed, right? I would love guidance, right?
Hmm.
And there was no guidance. It was just saying I don't touch that stuff, but like I would just be careful. Didn't really understand what those words meant. But weeks go by, get an email saying like there's been a report of like unprofessional use of your social media,
Uh,
and it was so vague. It's like one of those worst emails you can get. You're halfway done with med school and you're meeting with a committee you don't want to meet with. This committee will not meet with you just to say hi, what's up. It's
Mhm.
only if you screwed up royally will they come and
oh
talk to you.
no. Okay.
Yeah. So and of course they schedule a meeting months out. So you're just sitting here in
Oh
anxiety
god.
land. You're just like
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
I
like
hate that.
yeah, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. And you sit before the committee, and then they give you the evidence packets of like it's like a full hearing of like what you did, and they have every like a lots of my videos. They have posts, right? I did a blog about side hustles and like finance, like trying to gain financial freedom while being a med student, being a physician, and they cited a lot of my things, right? And they were just It was used as evidence, like for this committee to objectively, non-biasly review and see if I was being unprofessional, right? Um,
Did they define for you professionalism?
Not that part. That part of like what is professionalism in the context as a med student at my level of training, that was never commented on. They more along went along things of, well, you're recording in an affiliate resource like the hospital, right? I don't
Okay.
own the hospital. It's not my space, right? So there was a big argument of like, well, you're recording in a public area, you're using it for your own personal gain, which you could argue, which I understood the point there. But then the other part was like unprofessional use of social media, which could mean anything. And I could not argue back my point because everyone might have a different interpretation of that one policy.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
a question real quick. Did when they brought this evidence to you, was it printed out screenshots of your TikToks?
Screenshots, recordings. Yep. And so I mean, it was all Google Drive at that point because it was all virtual, still COVID, right?
I
Um,
would have guessed just computer printout.
Yeah.
They copy pasted it into Microsoft
On the
Word.
printers that have the, like,
Yeah, laser.
perforated sides that you tear off.
All right,
yep. So they just bring up the file during the thing. Yeah. I mean,
that's right.
from the untrained eye, or like someone who doesn't know me as a person, just seeing like, oh, like, well, what is this guy up to? It's like he's at our school, he's doing all these things, which is no context, right? And that
Yeah,
meeting was for them to give me context. And there's a couple interesting topics they brought up, and we could discuss those. And like, what do you, if you guys think is makes
yeah.
sense of what they're
Well, I
saying?
Yeah, I'd
think
like to hear how they're thinking and what the
so. Right now, the only thing that we've heard from you is that the argument is um, that maybe you have some secondary, like financial gain while on company property, basically, right?
Yeah.
Which, okay, um, I guess,
and maybe, like, on company time, like, if you're on your
well,
shift.
yeah, maybe. So I guess maybe I can see that, but go ahead. But I'm still waiting to hear like what the issues that they had like with the content itself.
It
Yeah.
sounds like they can't even define it, so that's why I'm curious to hear, like, what they're
Yeah.
thinking.
All right, keep going.
So when it comes to content, there was no specific concern in my content. No one looked opened up a video and said, "This is inappropriate what you're doing." Like there was some videos where I was dancing, I was acting goofy, right? And there was like no explicit content by any means, right? But they're just like, what role does social media play? Like, do you need to be on social media posting this, talking about your life? They just didn't understand it. And they're like,
Yeah.
Right.
like, and I was the only person at our school with a pretty large following. I amassed like 250,000 followers in a year's time. And I know a lot of people have millions and millions of followers. For me, I was like, that's quite a bit. And then I drew attention pretty quickly. And they were just like, well, why do you need it? Why even post social media? Right.
Mhm.
Mm,
They never commented saying like you should not be talking about this. You should not be talking about this. Because I stayed away from political topics. I stayed away from some medical students would
yeah.
review cases and stuff like that. I try to stay away from all that because it can get very, very heated very quickly. I just talked about my life, like studying, productivity, how I got here. Like no one can really try to hate
Right.
me
Your
for that.
own story, talking about yourself. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was one just the presence of me, like just had that presence of social media and gaining a
Yeah.
following pretty quickly. They were just like questionable, like, well, what are your motives here? And then of course the concern comes up like, well, are you balancing your work? Are you like still, going to your vacations and passing everything? And I was doing quite well. I earned my like a distinction in basic sciences for the first 2 years. So and I told them in a very condescending way that I was achieving all the milestones that were expected of me, right? I didn't have any
Mhm.
issues there. But
As if no one has hobbies, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody does anything outside of studying to be a see that irritates me. The fact that they in their mind, because they were able to see the thing that you were doing, you like to do outside of studying, that that is enough to take away from your ability to become a doctor.
Right.
Uh,
As if, it's what I've always said ever since you were in med school is that, like, before you're a doctor, before you're a med student, whatever it is, you're a human being, and there are things that we
right,
know about what human beings need to, have well-being, and to be productive. And a lot of what med schools, at least then and maybe still now, it sounds like, a lot of what they expect goes against what we know about what human beings need. And one of the things we need, is creativity, hobbies, social time, right? We need things that fill us back up after we've been studying for a long time, or, we had a really hard day at work. Like, those are things that you need in order to be more functional.
Yeah,
I agree.
it was a new scary thing for these administrators, right? They didn't understand it. And they they were thinking along company lines, right?
Yeah, but what's striking is that they don't even know why they don't even know why you shouldn't do it. They don't have any
They can't
they don't even know
verbalize.
what
Yeah.
their problem with it is. They just know that they have a problem with it. But they
Yeah.
can't tell you what that is. They can't tell you how you should do things differently. They can't give you any guidance on, do's and don'ts.
How many people were in this? Would you say this is like a disciplinary hearing? Probably not.
Yeah.
Or this is just like it was like a warning meeting, or
Well, I think when you get to this meeting, I think the warnings are done. I think it's more just
Mm.
like time to
Hmm.
take action on you. You've
It's
consulted
your
us as a
sentencing.
specialist, yeah, and we're gonna be putting in some orders for you. So I mean, yeah, and then at this point, it's like something punitive.
Yeah.
so what was the outcome?
Yeah, this is the part where I think most people might be surprised to hear. All the thing we've talked about is like opinions of our admin and like how they believe social media should play a role. So and that was fine. We had a good discussion. From what I understood, was a good discussion, and and I tried my best to answer all their questions and like very apologetic about everything. Like I'm willing to stop and just learn and all these things. And afterwards, they came back and they said, "Well, we're gonna have to put you on professional probation for the rest of your time here in medical school." And we'll say, "Well, what does that entail?" It's like, can I clear it? Can I work towards it?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, you eventually will be put off probation when you graduate." And I'm like, "How does that affect my applications?" A big old red flag on the applications on your MSPE.
No,
Yeah, you guys
really?
remember that? Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay.
and a very vague statement, right? Of this, a student had an issue with professionalism regarding social media use. Patient did remediate and complete all steps, right? But everyone just heard the first part.
Yeah.
Issue with the social media professionalism. So every interview I had to explain it, right? And it was like a
Ugh,
rehearsed script, and like I had to be very apologetic. And like I'm not gonna sit here and say I did everything right, but like it
sure.
was tough to just talk about a big piece of my life that I enjoyed, and had to kind of set that aside and say like, no, that was so wrong on my part. I can't believe what I was doing, because I did like what I was doing, and I think there was a purpose to what I was doing, but I had to say it in a politically correct way. So that went on the application. I had to work with a mentor to understand professionalism, right? I had to work with a mentor of like, what is professional conduct, all these things. Um, and
But
then,
they
then
didn't
I just,
give there was no one example. Like, what did they pull from your content? Like, is it it's okay to like, if you like, because 'cause we've all like, I've said some things that I would probably consider even to this day
Yeah,
unprofessional.
like, good thing you weren't in med
Right.
school at the time.
So was there anything did you get, like, specific examples that they said, this is we consider this unprofessional," or was it just
Just the fact that you were
social
on
media in
social
general?
media.
I think if any examples did come up that were more focused on, would have been the ones where like, yeah, you're in the restroom of a hospital. It's a affiliated resource. You can't be doing that. Even when you're done with your shift, all that stuff. There's accusations that like, oh no, he was cutting off during his rotation to do it.
I see.
And well, I
Okay.
was like, well, I know the attending said that, but that was never discussed with me. But I came back and told them like it was never during my allotted time. When I was dismissed, I went and did what I loved, was making content. And like, yeah, I mean the hospital's restrooms look nice, right? The lighting was peak. So, but I mean, I understand that like why they wouldn't want us to use it. But then also, mind you, I'm looking at other people in my space. There's people out there recording in the hospitals, recording in public
Yeah.
spaces, and they have more followers than me, and their school seems to be right behind what they're doing, right? So I think it is contingent on your institution's view of the social media, right? Our no one at our institution had a big presence on social media, maybe besides me, right? I know other creators that I've talked to personally who I'm like, hey, what does your school think about it? I'm like, oh, they're a fan. They're like they're helping me. I've talked about I used it to get into residency. Like So it really comes down to how your institution kind of views it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it and sounds like you were at one that was just not that didn't recognize the impact that social media can have in a positive way, right?
Right.
And I do feel like, and I hope that this, even within the past few years, like since this happened to you, I would hope that it's really changed toward acceptance, that this is just a part of life, and not only that, but an important part of being in medicine, is understanding social media, because that's where patients are. That's where they're getting their information. And so, yeah, it can be more of an asset. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get yourself into a lot of trouble if you do the
Yeah.
wrong thing. Sounds like you approached it in the right way, by like setting boundaries for yourself, like right
Yeah.
off the bat. And that's what my biggest recommendation to any med student, resident, anybody that's kind of under the thumb of where your career could be very much derailed by something you say on social media, is to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to talk about patients. You're not going to have your badge. You're not going to be in the scrubs that have your hospital's name on it, whatever it is, right? Like, you gotta, before you even get started, or now is the best time to do it, even if you're already making the content, is like, set those boundaries, right? So,
Yeah. And that's the big thing of talking to you, because I know you guys released that the training course, or like the stuff that you're helping people
yeah.
like me. Like if I knew you guys a couple years back and it was started, maybe this outcome would have been different, right? But it's that kind of
Yeah.
guidance might go a long way for people who want to create content, right? And then I was in uncharted territory. But I mean, you get is that the kind of advice you kind of give to me in my situation, right? The boundaries and creating that's the best way you can as a prophylactic measure to protect
Yeah.
yourself professionally, right? And I'm curious to see what else you guys think I should have been thinking about during this time to like have protected myself, right? Because I mean, I would never want it to affect my residency or like where I would match and stuff like that, but it very much did, and that was the unfortunate part. Like, someone could have sat me down and said, "This is probably not the right way to approach it. Let's maybe do like this if you really want to do it." But for it to affect my future, and then like those, I never talked to those people again. They saw a person on
Mhm.
social media. Okay, here's some punitive measures. See you later. And I mean,
That
and
was it.
it's sticking with me. It stuck with me through all the entire process. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
I shut everything down. I've learned, and like, but there's no going back. It's on the record.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
from what
unfortunate.
you have shared, and we haven't seen the content in question or anything, but just from this conversation, it sounds to me like the institution needed guidance.
Right. On how to deal with social media, or
Yeah.
think about social media.
It seems like you're doing a lot of the things that we're doing. Like you said, you had boundaries, you're doing some of the things that we recommend, eh, but they need some guidance on
So,
this
yeah,
whole topic.
and this is what I was actually gonna say to you, would be like, and this might not have probably didn't even exist at your institution, based on how, what you're recounting this situation. But, looking at what the policy is at the hospital, uh, because now I would guess now the majority of hospitals will have a social media policy, and it'll like explicitly state like what is and isn't okay.
I don't know, I think a lot of policies are still just don't do it.
Really?
Yes. I don't think that, I know that. I've had, some data collected.
On on hospital, like on the hospital campus.
Or the university that, the med school is in, things like that. They just say, "Don't do it."
I see. I don't think.
I think there are some that probably
Hmm,
have better
I
policies than
want.
that, but a lot
Yeah.
that still just have that.
I wonder if it's like, don't do it while up when you're at work, which is defensible, right? You
Sure,
shouldn't
like
be
if you're
making
working,
content
yeah,
while you're
absolutely.
working, or even like doing it on the property of the hospital. Like, that's sure, that's their company, that's their hospital. You don't own the hospital, whatever. I get that. I can understand
Yeah.
that. But to limit content creation outside of that scenario. I don't know
No,
if
I
that's
think there are
defensible.
no, it's not, and I think there are still institutions that are saying that, like, don't even
Mm,
I think there are still some that are like, "Yeah, just don't have it."
okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's like a policy, like, let me know. I'll talk to them. All the people listening, just give me their just I'll make a little video for them. I'll be like, "What are you
Yeah.
doing? Wait,
And
this is."
it's like unfortunate too because I've had a great experience. Like I was able to go to med school in my hometown, like near my hometown, 30 minutes away. I didn't have to leave my family behind. I met my wife at this med school, right? So I mean, she's a podiatrist, and it's just like it was. I've had good things to say about the school as a whole, but I think there's a few people who needed guidance of like, hey, this is probably not as serious as we're making it. There's probably
Mhm,
a different way to approach it. I know we as human beings will fear things we don't understand. And it's just
right.
and then
Right.
maybe they approached it the way they knew how. So, I mean, I did a lot of reflecting on this, like, why was I called out? Why was I singled out? I mean, a lot of these cognitive distortions I had to work through because I was a model student doing everything
Yeah.
by the book. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm gonna do something that like I like doing. And they're like, no, 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 no. That's you gotta back up here. So I had to go through, just really figure out like why this could have happened. And in hindsight, there's like more like bad apples compared to the institution as a whole, like, it's not fair to say it was like I mean, there's people who have a lot of
Mhm.
power in the med school who would express the sentiment about social media. Everyone kind of just like it was groupthink, right? Everyone's like, yeah, that sounds right. I don't know much about it, but you seem to think that we should be not allow people to be on social media. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's
I
some
think
good
that is
people.
not okay. Yeah, that's not okay to in 2025,
Even in
even in
2022.
2022, but certainly not like now.
Yeah,
There
things are
there's
different now.
there's really no excuse for like telling one of your employees like you cannot have your name be like on social media. You cannot
To me,
create content under your
feels
own personal identity.
that feels like a violation
Feels
of
like a
your rights.
yeah, it feels like a freedom of speech
Yeah, it
violation, to be
does. It
honest.
does.
That
Uh,
doesn't happen in America, guys.
yeah,
People are not
Yeah,
censored
right,
for
yeah.
expressing their opinions
No,
online.
no
definitely not.
censorship whatsoever.
Never.
And so, yeah, I do think it's worth it to know if there is social media policy in place where you work, and um, if that the only thing I would say that would be defensible would be like, you can't make content at work. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And obviously, the fear of revealing like
Mhm.
even people walking in the
Yeah,
background.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, none of that's okay. And you got to be very careful in a hospital setting. But talking about your day, as long as you're not revealing anything off of hospital property, like in the comfort of your home,
Mhm.
talking about uh, things that made you angry or upset or made you laugh or
Yeah.
that's what's wrong with that. That I
Yeah.
And
mean,
yeah.
I think we all agree here, but
Well, I think
it's something that I think it's changing. I think it's getting better. I do. Slowly. And as you said earlier, Kumail, the as people are getting older, as the people that those of us who grew up on social media
yeah,
start getting into leadership positions,
right.
they understand, they get it, right?
Yeah,
And
because I think part of it is still this old school idea that, you should not let as a physician, like what you were saying, they told you you're a physician 24/7, and wherever you are. Um, and so you should not let people see your humanity.
yeah,
You're supposed to be this like godlike figure that has no, weakness or vulnerability and, no personality because it's all just very,
well,
clinical
I have
and
no weakness, but
yeah, okay. Uh,
that's neither here nor there.
but
Keep
that is
going.
still, I think, to me, it seems like that is the underlying, or at least an underlying issue to these policies of, I don't know, just don't do it. It's because to them, that seems like something that, this automaton version of what a doctor should be
Yeah,
would not
Yeah.
do.
yeah.
I mean, if you think about in our medical jobs, right? We need to be right 100%. Even though in reality, as I learned becoming a doctor, I'm like, you just throw the ball or shoot in one place, hoping you get the target, right? And then you just like every time you see that presentation again, or you see this constellation of symptoms, you're hoping you're getting it right. Because I mean, there's times in family medicine, especially, I had a patient on my night shift that had no idea what was going on, right? Like, and that just happens, right? Like, and you'll be faced with situations time and time again. Um, and the other point I wanted to bring was, I think one piece of content that like I think maybe could also kind of relate is that I would make content about physician salaries, right? Public data. I made like in my medical student naive mind, I created content about which specialties have cool lifestyles, tough
Yeah.
lifestyles, my
Sure.
naive mind. And actually, Dr. Glaucom, you duetted one of my videos
Oh, I
years
did.
back. Yeah, as a satire kind of duet. And going back to like,
Uh-oh.
I didn't really know about like call and stuff. I was a second year. I was just thinking like, well, people in outpatient settings, like a ophthalmologist doesn't take call. In reality, even though you might be an ophthalmologist in clinic, you might still be on call, right? There's a lot of things I didn't know, but the duet was, I was talking about ophthalmologists and how sweet their lifestyle was.
I
And
mean,
and
it's
then
not wrong.
yeah, and he was just like, I find that offensive. It's 2 p.m. I just got up, and it's
Yeah.
just like, and then
Oh, I do. I remember that. Yeah. Okay. All right.
yeah, and then that one garnered a few views, and but it was like, and then obviously I also got eaten alive by some colleagues of like, hey, that's not true, and I was like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's like, that's, hey, a learning point, right? But maybe some people have seen that, or just like, you should be right 100% of the time. And going back to the topic of like, doctors should always be right in every context. Like, yeah, in medicine, I try to be right all the time, right? But I'm gonna make not mistakes, but like I'm gonna make judgment errors, and like have to correct my
Sure.
course on a few things.
Right.
And just like with that video that like, my fellow colleagues have like called out, and were like in a very light manner, right? Of like
Right.
saying
Right.
like,
Right.
this is, well, that's not fully accurate. And like, the videos will circulate now in my program. And now it's a laughing matter. It was like, there's one pediatrician, he has millions of followers now. He'd do it in my video years ago, again, about pediatricians taking call. Again, I'm thinking like, pediatricians don't take call, but they do take a lot of call, even as an outpatient
Yep.
pediatrician. So now it's a laugh in my
Yeah.
program of like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
so funny, right? And I got so scared when he started talking about it. Just had a repeat of like, oh my gosh, they're gonna sit me down and say like, why did you post this? Why were you doing
Yeah.
this?
You got a little
Right.
PTSD from the first time around. It's like, oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
my God. Well, yeah, a little bit of humility goes a long way, especially with on social media, because you're not going to be accurate in every step of the way. Um, well, Camille, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This is a really important topic,
Yeah.
and uh, the conversation is slowly moving away from just don't do it to okay, do it, but here's how you be safe about it. That's where we need the conversation to be. And so I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, guys.
PGY2, you're
Yes.
halfway there. You're
Yes.
close.
Yes.
A-
Oh
And
yeah,
then
like, almost, yeah, like almost halfway. Yep, exactly.
is fellowship in your future?
No, I'm just gonna take my skills and hopefully just be a hospitalist and work 7 days on, 7 days off, hopefully.
Hey
So
man, that
that's
was my approach.
Yep.
Not in a hospital, but
No.
far away from hospitals as an ophthalmologist. But yeah, after residency, I was like, get me a job. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, I wish you the best. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thanks
coming on.
for sharing your story. And there's something that, has just been on my mind this whole time that I feel like I should say, which is, I heard somewhere, I don't remember who said this, but this idea of your pain becomes your purpose. So, when you were talking about why did this happen to me, things like that, that's something that we can relate to for sure. Um, I'm not a subscriber to it. Everything happens for a reason, but I do think that we learn and we grow and, looking back on our life years later, we see how everything kind of fell into place. So hopefully you're in a better place with it now, but,
Yeah, keep going with it.
keep going. Yeah.
I appreciate it, y'all. So, no, thank you for the guidance and the wisdom, and like, yeah, the counseling session to kind of work my brain through it. There's not a lot of people I can confide in about this
Yeah,
topic, so it was really refreshing to hear from you all and your thoughts. And I am really, it's a pleasure to be on the show, and
thank
best
you.
of luck with everything you guys going on. We love what you
Thanks.
guys do.
I appreciate it. Take care. All right, thank you to Kumail Hussain. By the way, I didn't we didn't mention his social media handles. So you
Yeah.
could on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, the Kumail Hussain. That's Kumail Hussain, Hussain. Just search him up. As our children would say, search it up.
Search it up.
Search it up.
Yep.
And
it looks like on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, it's
the Kumail.
The Kumail H.
You'll find him.
Yeah.
You'll find him. Let us know what you thought of the episode, or what I would love to hear are stories from other people about being reprimanded on social media as a healthcare professional,
or people in charge of making these policies. I want to hear from them too.
Exactly.
Like what goes into that.
Also, the positive. So not just the negative.
Yeah.
If people who I also want to hear examples, because I firmly believe that things are moving in the right direction. So if you have examples of your company or the company you work for, the hospital you work for, being open and accepting of content creation and social media, we want to hear that too. So both ways.
Yeah. What kind of guidance are you giving or getting, depending on
what's happening
which
out
side
there
of
in
it
the
you're
world?
on.
You can email us, knockknockhi@human-content.com. Visit us on our social media platforms. Visit the Human Content Podcast family over on Instagram and TikTok at Human Content Pods. Let's see. Thanks to all the great listeners leaving feedback and reviews. You can like, subscribe, or comment on your favorite podcasting app. We're on YouTube. We can give you a shout out, like over on YouTube at Glock and Pluggins, by the way. At Blondie2061H said, my mom just went through rabies shots.
Ooh.
She woke up to a bat in her room. We're in New York State. Her insurance was billed for the vaccines, and then the health department paid for anything her insurance didn't cover. We set up the shots through the health department, and she had to go to employee health at the local hospital to get them. The first appointment was 1 vaccine and 4 injections of immunoglobulin. She had to get 4 more vaccines over the next month. It's typically 3, but she's immunosuppressed. She's also getting a titer done at a 6-week mark due to immunosuppressed status. It's a big deal.
It is.
Because rabies is so incredibly fatal. So you got to be very careful. Immune globulin, vaccines, getting all the shots. So I hope.
And then
everything
I'm assuming
is okay.
are they monitoring something in the blood for?
Yeah.
Is that what a titer is?
Yeah, it's a titer.
What do they do?
That's just a blood test, and they can test to see how much antibody you have against the rabies.
But are they
virus.
looking to see if you have the rabies virus in your blood?
No, they're looking to see, do you have a sufficient immune response?
So why do we not look to see, hey, do they even have this virus?
I don't know if you can do that.
Can you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
A rabies test?
I think if you like have active virus in your blood,
it's too late.
You're probably dead.
Okay. Well, that's a compelling reason.
All right, full video episodes are every week on our YouTube channel at Glock and Fleckens. We also have a Patreon, lots of cool perks, bonus episodes, react to medical shows and movies, hang out with other members of the Knock Knock High community. We are growing and active in it. Early ad-free episode access, much more. Patreon.com/GlockandFlecken or go to GlockandFlecken.com to learn more. Speaking of Patreon community perks, should we shout out the Jonathans?
Of course.
Patrick, Lucia C., Edward K., Marion W., Mr. Granddaddy, Caitlin C., Brianna L., MP Cole, Mary H., Keith G., Parker, Muhammad L., David H., Kaylee A., Gabe, Gary M., Eric B., Marlene S., Scott M., Kelsey M., Dr. Hoover, Sean M., Ryan N., Jess K., Hawkeye MD, Bubby Salt, and Shiny D. A virtual head nod to you all. Patreon roulette time, random shouts from the emergency medicine tier. Shout out to Leanne K. for being a patron. Thank you for listening. We are your hosts, Will and Kristen Flannery, also known as the Glock and Fleckens. Our executive producers are Will Flannery, Kristen Flannery, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brick. Editor and engineer is Jason Pertisa. Our music is by Omer Benzvi. To learn about Knock Knock High's program disclaimer, ethics policy, submission verification, and licensing terms and HIPAA release terms, go to glockandflecken.com or reach out to us, knockknockhigh@human-content.com with questions, concerns, or fun medical puns. Knock Knock High is a human content production.
Knock, knock, goodbye.
Hey, Kristen,
Yeah.
you know what I hear a lot about from other physicians?
What do you hear?
Not enough time
Yep.
to do anything.
No.
Not enough time to see patients, to look people in the eyes, to document.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm just so thrilled by what Microsoft Dragon Copilot is doing.
What are they doing?
It's this AI clinical assistant that helps with documentation, workflow, Just building the patient-physician relationship.
Yeah, because
It
now you have time to look them in the eye and whatnot.
Yeah, it's customizable. You can automatically convert conversations into specialty-specific notes depending on what kind of medicine you're doing.
That's pretty cool.
And it saves you time, and you can actually, like, focus on what you really need to do as a physician,
Yeah.
which is just build that rapport with somebody, right?
That's the most important part.
Yeah, and build the trust
Yes.
that
That
you
is
that you need.
key these days.
Absolutely. To learn more about Microsoft Dragon Copilot, visit aka.ms/knock-knock-hi. Again, that's aka.ms/knock-knock-hi. Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.